Captain Dylan Hubbard at Hubbard's Marina. Welcome to the Sunday Night Live Stream Show. Who's ready to win some free trips, talk fishing, have a good time? We're going to be talking about the weather, what's going on now, showing you photos of what we've been catching, giving away free trips, and having a good time doing it. Plus, we're going to be answering your questions live during the show. Remember, if you want a chance for your question to be answered live, you do have to text us at the phone number at the bottom of the screen, your question or your topic or whatever you want to discuss during tonight's show. Welcome to the Sunday Night Live Stream Show. We do this every Sunday night at 7:30 p.m. and we are giving away $1,500 in free trips. That's right, $1,500 in free trips every Sunday night. We give away a 5-hour half day for two, a 10-hour all day for two, and a 39-hour trip for one lucky winner. Thanks for tuning in and being a part of tonight's show. I appreciate you being here. Now, we are going to get rolling right into this, but first, we got to thank our sponsor at Gator Gyms. Gator Gyms Tackle, our friends over there at 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete, are your presenting sponsors, your title sponsor of the show. They help make this all possible, and we appreciate them. So stop by and see our friends at Gator Gyms Tackle, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. Tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you. They have an incredible selection, killer deals, and absolutely a killer awesome staff. So super helpful, super wide variety of stuff in their shop. Stop on down to Gator Gyms and say hello. Also, we want to make sure we give a shout out to all our supporters out there who are watching tonight, who also help fuel and make the show possible. So we appreciate all of those in our supporters group. Remember, it's only $4.99 a month. It gets you private access to our private supporters group and behind the scenes info. Plus, you get a little bit more connectivity and you're able to chat a little bit more openly in that community. Plus, you get a little bit of advanced knowledge and notice on things as well. So check out becoming a supporter. It's only $4.99 a month, and you get private access to our private after show as well every week after our live show. So really good time. Hopefully you can join us for our supporters group. We also, of course, want to give a shout out to those who are sending stars on Facebook. For those watching on TikTok, Instagram, Trovo, Twitch, Kick, stars are a way to help fuel the show and help us to continue to do more cool stuff in the live show. And it's a way people on Facebook can show their support. We had Stephen Batchelor. We had Larry White with a big 1,000 stars. Thanks, Larry. LaShonda Brown, Robert Riggs, Brian Eakins, Sherry Golf with a big 500 stars. Adam Franklin with a big 500 stars. Rick Rogers, our buddy from Colorado, with a big 500 stars. Sherry Golf again. Scott Flynn, Richard Bedwell with a big 1,000. Thank you, Richard. Alexis. And Gary Camage, Magali Gracie, Jeff Reedy with a big 1,200 stars. Appreciate you, buddy. David Pruitt with a big 500. Magali Garcia with a big 50. And then also D. Beers with 1,200 stars. Thank you, D. Appreciate you and Mike. And Richard Harcourt, Angie Kukendall. I'm going to say Kukendall. Sorry, Angie. I appreciate that as well. So thank you all for the stars. Thank you for the supporters. Thank you to Gator Gyms. Now, how do you win free trips? Do you want to win some free stuff tonight? During our live stream show, how you enter to win the free trips is very simple. All you have to do is comment one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. You can watch on YouTube, you can watch on Trovo, Twitch, Kick, Instagram, TikTok, but you do have to comment one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. That enters you for a chance to win. Then you can watch on whatever streaming service you would like, on whatever platform or page you would like, but you do have to comment one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream in order to be eligible to win. Now, also keep in mind as well, you do have to watch the entire show live. You have to be watching live because you are randomly selected, randomly throughout the show. We're going to do those giveaways, and if you're watching live, that is how you win, because you might get picked as one of the lucky winners, and you've got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address to the phone number on the screen. So you got to comment once, then you got to watch live, then you got to text us within 5 minutes to prove you're watching live. Your full home address to that phone number at the bottom of the screen, if you're picked as one of those lucky winners. Brad Taylor with 2,235 stars. Thank you, Brad. Aaron Luke with a big 500. Mick Higgins, appreciate you as well. Thank you guys so much. All right. With that, we want to make sure we also remind you to like and share the stream. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, TikTok, follow our page, Instagram, all that good stuff. Make sure you like the stream, like the video, and share the video, and don't forget to subscribe, like, or follow our pages. Then with that, we'll get right into the photos and show you guys photos of what we have been catching. We always start inshore, then we work our way nearshore and offshore, then we'll get into the weather a little bit too. But first things first, let's show you guys what we've been catching inshore. Inshore lately, we've definitely been seeing some black drum around. The black drum have been pretty active around our mangrove shorelines, our dock lines, some of those oyster bars, some of those mangroves as well. We're seeing some nice redfish action. The redfish action has been pretty darn good. Still kind of peak redfish time. We're on the back side of things. It's going to start slowing down a little bit. They spread out until we start to see those big concentrations of redfish, big schools of redfish as they spawn a little bit in the springtime. But definitely this is kind of prime time to find those redfish still. Water temperatures are still pretty cool, but they are getting up there. They creeped up near 70. Now they're back down into the mid to low 60s. So redfish action still going well. A lot of the cold tolerant species like trout and sheep's head here are also doing well. As you can see, pretty good action on the sheepies. Snook have picked up a little bit, especially this past week. Warmer weather, warmer waters definitely helped the snook pick up. But they are up in the back protected bay water still, not really in the passes, super heavy or super thick. Mouth of the river, mouth of the creeks, around the mouth of the bayous, around some of the interior islands. You're looking for points, ambush points to find those snook right now. But as you can see, the snook action has been pretty solid this past week inshore. So also the trout, as I mentioned, we're seeing quite a few trout lately. Some pretty good average size trout too. This is a great time of year to find those trout more aggressive, more concentrated, and more willing to bite as well. Look at that solid trout. That's a big boy. So some good action inshore, as you can tell, on the redfish, sheep's head, and trout. And a few snook if you know where to look. That's been the trick as of late. That's about it inshore. Let's work our way a little deeper, show you guys what we're catching nearshore and offshore. Nearshore and offshore has been pretty good. Little hit and miss for us, unfortunately, but we are doing pretty darn well nearshore and offshore too. Lot of hogfish this past week. It was pretty darn good the second half of the week. First half of the week was a little bit tougher and slower for us. Second half of the week, it really picked up nicely for us. We ended up doing really well on some solid hogfish. We had a ladies let's go fishing special trip with a bunch of ladies on the hub on a private fishing charter, and they demolished the hogfish. Plus, they got a few other species to go along with their bounty of hogfish. We've been catching a few hogfish on the half-day trips, and quite a few on the all-day trips. The all-day trips with Captain Dylan, Captain Seabass, Captain James, Captain Joe have all been doing pretty darn well on the hogfish. Like I said, a little hit and miss. We see some days better than others, but overall the hogfish action has been pretty good, and we're definitely enjoying kind of peak hogfish time with this cooler water. But things are warming up slowly, and as it warms up, those hogfish thin out. They get a little bit more tricky, a little bit more leader shy. So if you want a chance for those hogfish, definitely think about getting out there on a 10-hour all-day, a private charter. You get a chance for them on the half days too, but hogfish action is definitely best in the cooler months. Once things warm up, they spread out. They get a little bit more leader shy, a little bit more tricky, and a little bit more difficult to kind of dial in on with hook and line. So this is definitely peak hogfish time in this cooler weather conditions, colder air conditions as well. As you can see, look at all these hogfish photos in the past 2 weeks. We are doing well. Catching a few nice keeper red groupers, some black sea bass. The other day it was kind of rough and we couldn't get out there very far, so the hub crushed some silver trout along the beaches. Some nice mangroves out there on the 12-hour extreme. They've been doing pretty well. And some solid porgies and plenty of other heads and tails mixed in there. Red grouper action, though, is going pretty steady for us. A lot of sticking and moving, a lot of drop here, fish for a few minutes, drop there, fish for a few minutes, and ending up putting together a nice catch of fish. But definitely having to work and stick and move and fish hard to put together a nice catch of red grouper. But it's happening, as you can tell from these photos. We've been seeing some nice red grouper solid action on our 39-hour trips, 12-hour extreme trips, private charters, some catch and release red snappers, some big yellowtail. The 12-hour night snapper did pretty good this past week. It was a little bit of a slower, steady bite, but they ended up putting together a really nice catch on the 12-hour night snapper too. So of the 12-hour stream, the 12-hour night, the 39s, all going pretty well. This past week, the 39-hour midweek trip was a little bit tough. Our first 39-hour back was a little bit tough, but it got better as the week progressed. This 39-hour that came in today was a little bit better, but still not exactly the bonkers fishing that we would like to see, but we're getting them dialed back in, and it should only get better and better, especially as the water warms up. We'll be able to have a lot more activity. Plus, on top of that, we've got the triggerfish opened up once again as well. So that's all exciting news there. Now, we've talked about what we've been catching. We've been showing you what we've been catching. Now let's get into what we are seeing weather-wise. We're going to pop on over to the Hubbard's Marina website page. And once we're at the Hubbard's Marina website page, we're going to go to fishing trips, and then we're going to click weather links. And at the weather links page, we'll start in the 5 and 10-hour forecast area under Wind Finder. As you can see, a little bit of a windy week. And today was pretty decent, a little bumpy offshore, but near shore we were able to make things happen. And the 10-hour trip did okay. The half-day trip in the morning was a little slow. The afternoon half-day was a little better. The 39-hour that came in this morning did pretty good. And then tomorrow's picking up a little bit more wind-wise. Not terribly. Tomorrow afternoon looks pretty good, so I would say tomorrow afternoon is a real good opportunity to fish. The wind kind of backs down a little bit for a brief period, so super light load tomorrow afternoon's half day and some nicer weather before it picks up pretty heavily Tuesday with some high pressure ahead of a cold front. Then that cold front starts to pull wind towards it. That's what creates that south wind. So Tuesday is going to be a little sporty, a little nautical. If it doesn't back down, we'll be in a little bit of a pickle there. Wednesday does not look good at all. Right ahead of that front Wednesday night, it's really blowing 20 to 35 it's calling for, which is pretty crazy. So pretty windy day Wednesday, they're forecasting. Then Thursday, we have that hardened north wind. It's going to chill out on us. Pretty strong cold front there Wednesday night, Thursday morning, causing this stronger north wind. It calms down Friday. Friday will be a nice sunny day, but that'll be directly behind the cold front. So fishing might be a little bit tough Friday unless we're able to get out there offshore. So like the 39-hour trip should do pretty well Friday because they'll be going out there right behind the cold front, and hopefully the fish will be real hungry for us. And Saturday looks like it's pretty decent before Sunday really picking up. So I would say tomorrow afternoon and Saturday are probably your best chances to go fishing. Tomorrow afternoon being Monday afternoon, and Saturday probably your two best days. Friday, if you're going deep, you should be able to get a good bite near shore. Might be a little bit tough Friday right behind that cold front. So I would say the 39-hour trip this Friday would be a good bet. Be a little bit of a bumpy ride in, but not terrible since we'll be taking that right on the side. That big Florida fisherman can handle that well. So I would say the 39-hour trip, the half-day trip Saturday, maybe we'll try to sneak in an all-day Friday. I don't know. We'll see how that weather goes because it looks like Tuesday and Thursdays, all days, are going to be tough weather-wise. So a little bit of a windy week, but keep in mind, this time of year, that weather can change pretty drastically, pretty quickly. So don't count anything out. Don't get too concerned. Don't start thinking about canceling trips, because it can really shift and really change if that cold front, or if any of those cold fronts slow down. Maybe they don't make it all the way down here, so things can really shift this time of year. So I wouldn't get too concerned over the current weather forecasts. Now, someone did bring up a good question. We're going to go back to the weather links page here real quick. They asked about the water temperatures. So if you go to hubbardsmarina.com and you click fishing trips, you click weather links on our weather links page. If you scroll down through the weather links page and find the buoys area, you can find these buoys, which are going to show you what it's doing now out there. So this is the south buoy, southwest buoy. It's pretty far offshore. Water temperature is 70 water temperature is 70 degrees. So that's pretty warm. Let's see what the North Middle Grounds buoy is showing water temperature wise. That one is has air temperature. Does it have water temperature? Does not. So air temperature is in the 60s. I would assume water temperature is pretty close to south buoy though. Let's see. So it also has that, I don't know if you saw it, but it says choose your buoy here, and that'll bring you to this page, which allows you to choose any buoy, which this is a really fun page when you got a hurricane coming. If there's a hurricane out there, you can look at this and pick a buoy near the eye of the hurricane, and it's pretty fun to see the wave heights. Let's look at the Egmont Key buoy. Egmont Key buoy is 65 degrees, so it's right here along the coast. It's 65 degrees, and then out here near the shelf, it's 70 degrees. So much warmer water further from shore, getting closer to those loop eddies of the loop current, the Gulf current. So pretty interesting, the water temperature change, at least sea surface temperature change from near shore to offshore. But that Egmont Key buoy is 65 degrees right now. Just at the beginning of last week, it was, I think it was 69 degrees, almost 70 degrees. So really started to warm up pretty quickly near shore. And we are starting to see the mackerel. We've got reports of some pretty heavy mackerel numbers around the mouth of Tampa Bay. So that's pretty good news pretty early in the year to start seeing those mackerel. And potentially we might see that mackerel run start to happen near shore. So it's that time of year where that water temperature is creeping into the right range, where the mackerel trolling on our 5 hour, the 39 hours start to be a good idea. And hopefully we'll get a nice kingfish run this spring as well. Generally that water temperature between about 72, 73 degrees, we start to see the kingfish show up. And they hang around until that water temperature is in the upper 70s, like 78 degrees, 77, 78 degrees. So if it's in that range, 72, 73 to 77, 78, a lot of times we'll see those kingfish and a ton of mackerel, which makes the near shore 5 hours, 10 hours a lot of fun, because you can flat line, you can troll on the 5 hour or 39 hour, and have a good time for sure. All right, let's see. What else do we got here? We talked about the weather. Let's get right into some of those questions. Remember, if you have a question that you want answered live during the show, you can text us your questions to that phone number at the bottom of the screen. Also, let's do our first giveaway of the night before we get into questions as well. So remember, you have to comment one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. You have to watch the whole show live. And then if you're picked as one of the lucky winners, you got 5 minutes or less to text us that phone number at the bottom of the screen. So make sure you do that and watch live for sure. All right, let's see what's going on question-wise. I just said before questions, let's do our first giveaway of the night. So first giveaway of the night, let's do the 5 hour half day for 2 guests. 5 hour half day for 2 guests. Lucky winner is Joey Klamusko from Orlando. Congratulations, Joey. You've got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address to the phone number on the screen. I am seeing a couple questions come through on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook. Remember, those comments go really fast past us, so we don't get to see all your comments. So if you have a question you want answered live during the show, text it to the phone number on the screen. All right, first question of the night. How is the tuna bite going on the 39-hour trips? Ironically, we were talking about that a little bit on our radio show this Saturday morning. We talked about it a little bit again today on the Sunday morning radio show too. Generally, sometime around January, February, new or full moons, we see a big push of blackfin tuna. And then they kind of hang around and we see them more heavily through the spring. And we see a pretty good even nearshore push when that water really clears up and the bait really shows up. We didn't see any of that so far this year. We do catch blackfin tunas all year round. We catch them in the spring, the summer, the fall, and even the winter. But generally we have a really good concentration of them there around the moon phase, sometime January, February. And then they kind of hang around and we see a good push even near shore when that water clears up and the bait gets real heavy, but we didn't see that yet. So I'm hoping, keeping my fingers crossed, we still see a big push of blackfin tuna coming up soon, but we'll see. We're sticking around and hoping for the best, keeping our eyes peeled, if you will. But to answer the question, we haven't seen a ton of 39-hour blackfin tuna. We've caught a few here and there. We haven't had a lot of people targeting them, but you never know. So keep a flat line out, pitch rod ready, and trolling-wise, we'd often catch those blackfin tuna trolling the Rapala X-Rap Magnums or the Nomad DTX Minnows for sure. How's the 28th trip looking, light or heavy? I don't know what 28th trip you mean. We've got a lot of different trips going on, but I would assume you're asking about the 39-hour trip, which is only about maybe, I would say 60%, 55% full, so plenty of room. So we do have a phone call from our buddy Capt Mike. What's up, buddy?
How are you, my brother?
I'm doing well, man. I'm excited. We're on the doorstep of spring with the kingfish and mackerel run happening any time now in the coming weeks when that water temperature starts to get right. And I don't know, the cold fronts this week might cool that water temperature back down. I don't know. What do you think's going to happen? We have mackerel that have shown up. The water temperature starts to get real cool. I'd imagine they'd probably just hang around the bay, and they're not going anywhere at this point.
I wouldn't think so. Not as long as the bait stays.
Yeah.
You know, that's their whole key. The whole key to that whole mackerel bite is the bait. If the bait's there, then we got a shot to keep them. If the bait, if it gets so cold that the bait leaves, then we got a whole new problem. But I wouldn't suspect that would be the issue. Yeah, that would be bad. But I don't think that'll be the issue. Hopefully it'll, and I think, if I'm being honest, I think these fronts are good. I hate it when it gets windy and we can't get on the water, or the front's a little too brutal and screws up a day here or there. But I sure wasn't liking the way things were going. I don't want it to be full-blown spring in March, March 1st. That's just too early.
Yeah.
So
yeah, definitely makes it a little bit challenging. So it's like we had that almost 2-week period of picturesque, perfect weather early February. It really warmed up. It was in the 80s for like a week. And then we got more cold fronts. Water temperature went back down. Then it warmed up a little bit for maybe like a week or so, week and a half or so. Water temperature creeped back up. But now we've got 3 cold fronts this week, kind of slowing that back down. So this is, I would say, a pretty picture perfect, typical Florida kind of period. You get the fake spring, the fake summer, and you're back into winter. And it plays with your mind state, and I think it's confusing the fish a little bit too.
I think that's the key. I think that's the whole problem we're having right now, is the fish are just massively confused. Yeah. I don't think they know exactly what to do yet. Yeah. The length of day is still not right for this party to get started, and they know that. But everything else is telling them, hey, let's rock and roll. The other thing, too, and Captain Scott Moore touched on it today on the radio show.
Yeah.
A lot of those fish, when it got really cold, a lot of those fish got stressed.
Yeah.
So what happens is, as soon as they can get as soon as they can get to some fuel, they want to get to some fuel. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's part of the dilemma you end up in when you have a really tough cold front like we had there. Water temps got way, way low. Those fish get stressed. They burn up the, fat supplies that they had built up, and then it's challenging. Then it throws all the, everything we think we know kind of goes out the window. So, so I think there's some fish that are, maybe not out front yet, but are close to out front. And then there's fish scattered all the way to the back, so, which is really kind of normal. I mean, we get a little bit. There was always a few fish that come out early. We don't see the big numbers until it gets right per se, but, it's just kind of what we're dealing with. I mean, the one species I think that got boogered up in this whole deal is probably sheepshead.
I was about to say, we never really saw a big hardened down cold front stretch that got those big sheepies fired up.
No, I think the cold was early for when they typically spawn.
Yeah.
And then it got warm right there when they should be going off.
Yeah.
And I think that boogered the whole thing up. I really do. And again, I could be wrong, but it just never getting that sheephead bite to me never. I mean, we caught some. It was okay, but it was never as good as we all expected it to be by the amount of sheephead we saw around prior to the spawn.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be really, really good, and it just never. And of course, some of that may have to do with the fact that we all went trout fishing and red fishing and snook fishing because all of a sudden it was warm.
Was really good, yeah.
Yeah, so
and
some of that,
nice weather.
That could be right. That could be part of it. I mean, all of a sudden we're all thinking, hey, we don't
Forget
have to chase sheephead right now. Right, we can go after our normal game fish, and that could be part of that equation as well. So maybe I missed something in there somewhere. I don't know. But tomorrow I'm going to try to macro fish. I mean, try to take advantage of it if I can.
Nice.
I've got some social media influencers on the boat from Wisconsin, and I told them to make sure they wear a sweatshirt because it could be a little cool in the morning. But
they're from
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Try to go get that macro. Yeah, they'll be all right. They'll figure it out.
They'll warm up fast. Yeah.
Is it supposed to be very warm tomorrow?
I believe it's supposed to warm up fast. I was in t-shirt and shorts today, and it's supposed to be warm again tomorrow. So I would imagine it's probably going to warm up even faster tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it's
that weather on the water is a little cooler though when you're running that boat around.
Yeah, tomorrow is supposed to be 75 for a high, but a low of 52. So yeah, heading out, you'll need a sweatshirt. But
yeah, it's gonna be cold.
By the end of the trip, you can definitely layer down. And that brings up a good point. You dress for water temperature. We just looked at the water temperature. It's 65 degrees, so it doesn't, even though the high temperature is 75, if you're out on the water temperature is going to really dominate. So it might be 75 on land if you're in the middle of Tampa, but if you're out there on the water temperature, sea surface temperature being 65, it's going to keep you cool for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of what we noticed last week was, it was a little cool. You were happy you had your sweatshirt and your bibs on while you were running your trip and on your boat. And then as soon as you put it on the concrete and got ready to scrub it, you were like, okay, it's hot. So, I mean, just kind of the way it works out there. So,
yeah,
especially if the wind blows a little bit. So, we'll see what that wind does. If the wind blows, then that definitely ramps up the cool just a little bit.
Yeah. So,
but I think it should be, I mean, again, I'm not seeing Wednesday yet crushing my morning trip, but it might. We'll see.
Maybe.
I'm gonna try to get it in. I mentioned trying to get it in today, and Ben Marshall looked at me kind of funny, like, "Yeah, good luck." But we'll see what happens. Usually that's how it is. If I'm like, if I'm really trying to get it in, then it won't go. And if I really rather it didn't go because I could use a day to sleep in, then it'll definitely go.
Weather get nights.
So, yeah. So, but it's all good. It should be good. Like I said, I'm excited about the macro bite. Again, when you get fortunate to have some out of towners, that macro bite will kind of blow their mind if you can get it going good. So, every bait that hits the water is another 3 or 4 pound mackerel. That can be quite a bit of fun. So
they get fired up on those chummies for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, we're going to go to the bridge in the morning and see if we can't fill the old live well with some fresh pilchards and get that party started.
All right, brother. Well, you have a good night and a great trip tomorrow. I look forward to hearing how it went.
All right, I guess I'll see you Tuesday, yeah?
Tuesday night, I'll be there, brother, for the old memorial for Captain Billy Nobles. Definitely a sad day and a big loss to our fishing industry with the passing of Captain Billy Nobles. He was a great guy, for sure.
Yeah. All the information, if there's any listeners that were friends of Billy's that want to join us out there, all the information's up on the Real Animals Facebook page. So, everybody's more than welcome to join us. It's a pretty big venue, so we got plenty of room for everybody that wants to come out and celebrate the life of a legend, for sure.
Yeah, the Real Animals Facebook page, Captain Dylan Hubbard Facebook page. The flyer is definitely making its way around social media, so check it out, and I'll see you there, Mike.
All right, my friend. Have a great night.
See you, buddy. Thanks.
Bye, pal.
Definitely sad day. We lost our buddy, Captain Billy Nobles. We also unfortunately lost our buddy, Captain Randy, from the Miss Paso Grill, passed away too. So 2 big local fishermen passed away in the same week. And I also lost my aunt as well. My Aunt Patricia, Aunt Patty, as she was known, passed away too. So big, tough week, unfortunately, with the passing of 2 close friends and a family member, for sure. But definitely going to be a good time celebrating the life of Captain Billy Nobles this Tuesday night, March 4th. Again, the flyer is on the Captain Dylan Hubbard Facebook page if you're interested, and also the Real Animals Facebook page too. So check that out. All right, questions. Let's get into the questions. We're going to cover that too, Josh. Can you give us the address? We just showed the thing and where to find it. Great info about red grouper and worms. So you guys on our live show brought up an idea of, hey, what about this? And we made a video about it. And we also had the supporters group come up with some ideas, and we've been making more and more videos. So if you haven't checked out our YouTube YouTube channel lately, Josh has already pulled it up here, the red grouper video. But if you go to YouTube, look up Hubbard's Marina, check out some of the latest videos, fishing the full moon versus the new moon, red grouper tips and tricks. We've got fishing reports. We've got why do red grouper get worms more often. There is a ton of new videos that we've put out here. Some 39-hour trips, some 12-hour extreme trips. We do a fishing report every week. So there's some really cool videos on our YouTube channel. I didn't mean to play that. So definitely check us out on YouTube, and we're trying to grow our YouTube channel as well. So don't forget to subscribe. Something like 70 or 80% of the people who watch our videos are not subscribed, which really makes me sad. So don't make me sad. Make sure you subscribe. But I'm glad you liked the video. And remember, if you have a question, text in your question. Seeing questions come through still, and we don't always get a chance to open them or answer them because they go too fast. So remember, if you have a question, text. Where have the lanes and vermilion snapper gone? That is a great question. Recently, the 12-hour extreme trip, the 39-hour trip, have definitely struggled on seeing the lane snapper and vermilion snapper as frequently and as heavily as we normally do. I think it just has to do with the areas that we're fishing. We're a little restricted with that deep water closure, so we're fishing in a little bit different manner, kind of playing that game. And the water temperature, like we were just talking about with Captain Mike, it's been kind of going up and down. It warms up, then it cools down, then it warms up, then it cools down, and I think that's kind of freaking the fish out a little bit. We are still seeing some pretty good lanes on our 10-hour trip. Definitely, even on the 10-hour trip, even nearshore and offshore, we haven't seen the lane snapper really get fired up. They generally, I don't know what it is this time of year, but they get a little bit soft. Then when the water warms up, we'll see them really pick up again. So I would say warmer waters, fishing deeper, especially during red snapper season when we're fishing really deep. Like the beginning of red snapper season, around the beginning of June, we're fishing pretty shallow for red snapper. We're fishing 120, 140, 160 foot of water. Then towards the end of red snapper, once we get into July, August, we're fishing 180, 200, 220, 240 foot. And as we fish deeper, that's when we get those really big vermilion snapper. So definitely later in red snapper season, we get those bigger mottled vermilion snapper. And that's just a symptom of the fact that we're fishing deeper because of the fishing pressure during red snapper season, trying to follow those fish as they push offshore to get away from the fishing pressure. What is the best months for red snapper fishing? So red snapper are only open for a short period of time. This year's red snapper season should be longer than ever for both federal for-hire and private recreational anglers. I would bet money that I would bet $1 million our red snapper season starts June 1st. We know that. Without a shadow of a doubt, red snapper season starts June 1st for federal for-hire. So if you're fishing with us at Hubbard's Marina, June 1st, red snapper season opens. I would bet money, some pretty good money, probably I'm going to say $1,000. So some pretty good money, pretty high confidence, 99% confidence. Red snapper season's going to end sometime in September. Last year it closed August 27th, and we had 30% of our quota left on the table. So I would imagine they're going to give us another week, 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks of our season. So I would bet that red snapper, I know without a shadow of a doubt, 1,000,000% confidence, June 1st it opens. Red snapper season will probably end, I'm going to bet 99% confidence, sometime in September. I'm hoping middle to late September, but time will tell. We'll know more around April. Definitely by that April Gulf Council meeting, we'll know for sure. Red grouper season, open January 1st. We're expecting red grouper to close sometime around the end of May. Gag season should open September 1st. Early indications are showing maybe 6, 7, 8, 9 days. 6, 7, 8, 9 days. So September 1st to like September 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th would be my guess right now. Now, gag season, again, we'll know for sure sometime around April. Probably later April. Maybe even after that Gulf Council meeting. Amberjack should be September and October. Triggerfish are open all year except for January, February, June, and July. I think that's all the species that have seasons. Red grouper, red snapper, gag grouper, amberjack, triggerfish. 5 species. All the other fish are open all year round right now. Is there still red groupers biting inside 20 fathoms? We just showed you a bunch of photos at the beginning of this show of red groupers that we've caught and kept. So yes, we are still catching plenty of red grouper, still keeping plenty of red grouper. Jeff definitely doesn't slow us down at all on that front of things. Let's see, what is the other questions we had? How about that ladies charter? Yeah, the ladies charter definitely did really well. Remember, we do have our Lady Anglers fishing group, the Lady Anglers of Hubbard's Marina. If you're a lady angler and you're interested in meeting other lady anglers, check out the Lady Anglers of Hubbard's Marina. We also have a website page dedicated to them as well, and they have a Facebook group. So you can kind of meet and greet other lady anglers and have a good time there. But that ladies charter was Ladies Let's Go Fishing, which is another ladies fishing group. There's a lot of ladies fishing groups out there. So if you're a lady angler, get involved, go meet other lady anglers, and get out there on the water. What lure would you troll on a 39-hour trip? I kind of mentioned it earlier, the Rapala X-Rat Magnum, the Nomad DTX Minnow. Those are definitely 2 of my favorites for sure. Definitely missed out. With the crazy wind forecast, are there areas in Johns Pass to get some action like trout? Yeah. The south side of Johns Pass Bridge at night, the lights get pretty heavily populated with baits, and the trout have been going off lately. Trout action is really good. Not a lot of snook, a couple of redfish, a lot of trout. Angie Darling, appreciate those 1,000 stars. Don Schuett with a big 500 stars. Aaron Luke with a big 500 stars as well. What's up, Richard Harcourt? Nick Nieves with a big 2,400 stars. Crushing it, man. Thanks, John Bull, Mick Higgins, Appreciate all you guys. Aaron Luke with 1,000 stars total. Appreciate all the stars senders we had there. My name is Tom. Taking one of your 39 and 44-hour trips at the top of my bucket list. What month would you recommend I shoot for? Got this question today, so I want to do a 39-hour trip. It's on my bucket list. What month would I choose? It's really kind of dictated by what you want to catch, right? We just talked a little bit ago that the seasons are a little bit spread out. We have red grouper the first half of the year, first 5 months of the year. We have red snapper in the middle of the year. We have gags for a week in September, the beginning of September. We have amberjack in September and October. So you kind of, if you want to catch a specific fish, you have to go in those months. But if you're not as tied down to a specific fish, I would say the beginning of the year, January, February, is a good time. There's less people out there, and if you get good weather, the fishing can be really good. But we have a lot of cold fronts, and sometimes those cold fronts can make weather bumpy, can make it a little bit tricky, and if you're on the backside of a front, if you're in a front, it can be bumpy, and fishing can be a little bit tough. March, cold fronts start to calm down, but it's still pretty windy, and we're a little busier in March. April, we have a late Easter this year, so still going to be pretty busy in April, but the weather starts to get good. The end of April and really the beginning of May, like the last 2 weeks of April, the first 2 weeks of May, and around October is probably my favorite time of year in this area. Because at the end of April, early May, it's not cold anymore. The cold fronts have stopped. The wind has stopped from this windy spring, and it hasn't gotten hot yet. So it's really picturesque, beautiful weather. And those 39-hour trips at the end of April, early to mid-May, are generally pretty light. There's not a lot of people on them, and everybody's waiting for red snapper season. So we don't have a lot of people around. The fishing's good. We'll have red grouper. We'll have triggerfish to target. Lots of mangroves, yellowtails, muttons, other species too. And then around October, it's cooling off, but the cold fronts haven't gotten crazy yet. So also a really good time to go. And we'll have amberjack open then. We'll have triggerfish open then. We'll have a lot of things to go out there and catch scamp. So it'll be a good time then too. So if you weren't worried about a specific fish, I would fish January, February, March can be a little tricky weather-wise. April can be a little busy if we have a later Easter like this year. If we have an early Easter, April and May are great. June, July, August, crazy with red snapper season. People go nuts. End of red snapper season, end of August, it starts to slow down. People are done with red snapper, and we have actually some pretty lighter loads. So August might be a good time, and you get your red snapper, but it's hot. September's still really hot, but we have gags, we have amberjacks. The first week of September, potentially you have gags open, red snapper open, amberjack open, triggerfish open. 4 out of the 5 species might be open at the same time that first week of September, but trips are going to be sold out. It's going to be super busy, and it's going to be crazy hot. Then we move into October. It's beautiful. Then we get into November. We start to have those cold fronts, which make it a little bit tricky. And a lot of times, end of October, November, we get our good old lucky hurricanes. Unfortunately, this year was at the end of September, early October. I'm really hoping we don't have any this year. We kind of paid our dues last year, so hopefully we don't have any of those. But it's definitely been a little tricky. And then we get into December, and it's a good time. That time of year, we have less people around if you avoid the holidays, but the cold fronts can make it a little tricky. All right, what time is your morning radio show? Are there any Facebook or YouTube streams, or is it radio only? So we do a radio show on Saturday morning from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., and we stream it live to the Hubbard's Marina, Captain Dylan Hubbard, and Real Animals Facebook pages. So that is on the radio, iHeartMedia News Channel 970. WFLA. So 970 is the radio station, but it's streamed live to Facebook as well. What do you do when the sharks keep eating your catch? Catch the sharks or move locations. Sharks have been a really big challenge. We've talked about sharks quite a bit as of late. There's more and more sharks. We're seeing more larger sharks. We're seeing more sharks in general. Lemon sharks, sandbar sharks, bull sharks are big problems, but we're also seeing more hammerheads, more bull sharks, more great whites even have been pretty common, which is odd. They were common back in my grandfather's day and my father's childhood, and now they're becoming pretty common once again, even for me, which is crazy to see. So sharks have become a little bit more challenging because as their numbers rebound, more fishermen are out there. Inevitably, if you got more sharks and more fishermen, you're going to have more interactions. So we're definitely seeing the product of that as of late. And we've talked about that quite a bit on the show. If you're having problems with sharks eating your fish, move locations. Pick up and move a couple miles, and also fish shorter. If you're in an area, like if you're fishing the Keys, the sharks are horrendous down there. They don't fish an area for very much a time. If you fish 15, 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes and move, they don't get on you. But if you sit on a spot for 45 minutes, 60 minutes, anything more than 60 minutes, the sharks move in and it becomes too much and you got to just leave. So basically you chum them up, and to avoid chumming them up, fish an area shorter and then move. What kind of gear do you recommend for big grouper and red snapper? And also line size. So grouper and red snapper are two totally different things. My red grouper and red snapper setups are pretty similar, but gag grouper setup and a red snapper setup are two completely different things. For gags, you want to reel 40, 45 pounds of drag or more. You want a low gear ratio reel. You want at least 80-pound main line. You want at least 80 to 100-pound leader, really even 125-pound leader if you're fishing deep with big bait. If I'm dropping a really big live bait or a really big dead bait to try to catch a gag, I'm using a 10, 12-aught hook, 125-pound leader, 100-pound top shot, 80, 90, 100-pound braid, or just 100-pound all the way to my spool. My big reel is a big 9-aught with a aftermarket beefed-up drag, and it's got a 100-pound test in the spool, all mono, and it's got a 125-pound leader, a big 10-ounce egg sinker, a heavy-duty swivel, and a big 10, 12-aught hook on it. And that's what I'm dropping down a big live bait or a big dead bait for a really big gag. And for red snapper, you don't really have to go crazy because red snapper don't generally rock you up, but they are hard fighters. So 60, 80-pound leader, still 7, 8, 9, 10-aught hook, because remember selectivity. I always harp on that during red snapper season. You don't want a 16-inch red snapper, right? You want that big 20, 25, 30-inch red snapper. You want that 15, 20-pound red snapper. So bigger bait, bigger hook, bigger leader, you're going to avoid smaller fish. If you drop down 40-pound test and a 7-aught hook and a dead threadfin chunk, you're going to catch that 16, 18, 20-inch red snapper. You might get a big one, but you're also going to have a chance for those smaller ones. Whereas if you drop down a 18-inch piece of bonita on a 10 or 12-aught circle hook, and you've got 80-pound leader and a big 10-ounce egg sinker, you're going to avoid those smaller red snapper. And what I do a lot of times is I drop that bait down until I can't see it and then stop. A lot of times those red snapper are Christmas tree off the bottom. You pull up on a spot and you'll see a big Christmas tree, and that Christmas tree is generally a big red snapper show, and the biggest red snapper are always at the very top or very bottom. So what I like to do is drop down until I can't see the bait anymore, and then stop it with my thumb. Don't put it in gear, just stop it with my thumb, and then I slowly drop it down, and you'll start to feel pecks. And a lot of times that's vermilion or small red snapper eating that big, huge dead bait. But they're not going to be able to eat the whole thing because you've dropped down a huge piece of bonita strip. And they get all excited. They start biting it. Everything gets excited. And then that big red snapper comes and swallows it and takes off. Then you flip it in gear, and you're fighting that fish at that point. And it's definitely a really, really fun way to target them. You're off the bottom, so you don't have to fight them as far. And if it's a fish you have to release, you're not killing them with barotrauma. Plus, if there are sharks around, there's less likelihood that shark's going to get it because it's higher up in the water column. And you're less likely to get tangled because you're higher up in the water column, shorter fight. So it's a win-win-win-win-win trying to catch that red snapper up off the bottom. So that's a good way of targeting your red snapper. Gags, you have to be on the bottom. Always drop straight to bottom for gags. Red grouper, scamp grouper, mangroves, you want to fish on the bottom. Red snapper are stupid fish, super aggressive, and it doesn't matter. You could do whatever you want. You could drop down a banana, fried chicken wing, a spoon, a literal spoon, a knife, a butter knife with a hook on it, and you'll catch red snapper. So pretty dumb, but big bait, big hook, big leader. You're going to increase the odds of making sure you're catching that bigger red snapper. And then dropping your bait down slowly because you're fishing the top of the water column. All right, let's do another giveaway. Let's do our 10-hour all-day trip giveaway. That's a 10-hour trip, 1 lucky winner, 2 guests for a 10-hour all-day. Then we'll answer a few more questions before wrapping this thing up. So 10-hour all-day for 2 goes to Brad Taylor from Dunedin. Congratulations, Brad. You've got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address to the phone number on the screen. Red snapper love wrenches. Yeah, exactly. Again, super dumb fish. How's the sheep's head bite in close? We talked about that with Capt Mike a little bit ago if you missed it. They're catching some of them. We talked about it in the beginning, too, when we showed the photos. So we're catching some sheep's head, just haven't seen the really big push of really big sheep's head. Will the captain let us look at the chart plotter when fishing? No, not generally, but we will show you the bottom machine. But if you come in the wheelhouse and you start getting real curious about the chart plotter, that's a problem. Fishing spots are very secretive. So if we find someone that is purposefully marking, stealing, or looking for areas that we are fishing, that is considered theft and will be dealt with as such. What are some of your personal bests? Red snapper, red grouper gags. Company-wise, we've caught 70, 80-pound gags. I think the biggest one was 78. No, maybe 68. I forget. Pretty big gag. We've caught a 105-pound black, 116-pound Cubera snapper. Red snapper, we caught some 30-pounders. I think 32 is the biggest I remember off the top of my head. We've been seeing some nice ones, though. Me personally, about 26-pound red snapper. Red grouper was about 28 pounds. I haven't gotten a really, truly big gag myself. The biggest I got was about 35 pounds, which is a really nice one. But it's not like the right home about gag. Captain Will got himself a 58-pound gag. That was a truly beautiful fish. One of the biggest ones caught recently, I would say. Let's see. What other questions do we have? Do you have to live primarily... Oh, yeah, you can live in other states. You don't have to be in Florida to win a free trip. A lot of times we have people from out of state win. I would say most of the time people from out of state win. I'd like to donate. Oh, that's awesome. Well, we'll work on that one. Do you think cuts being made to NOAA are going to hurt them very much? I don't know. NOAA is a really big agency, a huge agency, and they have some really redundant departments. And there's some really silly things that happen. So it depends on what gets cut and how it gets cut. And I don't think anybody has the answers to that right now. I've heard some rumors, and I think I have an inside scoop on what's happening, but I can't speak to that yet. But if it does happen, I think it would work out pretty well for the fisheries and for a lot of different things. So I would say it's too early to know what's going to happen at NOAA. Is May the water warm for fishing in the pass? Generally, yes. May is when the water starts to really warm up, the snooks start to show up in the pass, and we start to get really good snook fishing in Johns Pass. Sheep's head die down, trout die down, but snook pick up, and it makes it exciting. What species run in the pass in May? Oh, yeah, snook. Snook would be my target species in the pass. Do you have red tide? No, we don't have red tide noticeably in our area. There are some background and low concentrations around Tampa Bay, but nothing that's noticeable. No smell, no irritation, no dead fish. There has been some pretty bad red tide south around Port Charlotte, Venice, Boca Grande area. We haven't really seen it in our area lately. Right behind Helene, like the 2-3 weeks behind Helene, we had some dead fish. We had a small fish kill, but it was pretty far from shore and it was pretty short-lived. But as of the last 3 months, we haven't really seen any significant red tide issues in our direct area. And someone was asking me about that today at the pass. And keep in mind, even if we have really bad red tide and we have dead fish on the beach, we can still go fishing, we can still catch fish, we can still eat fish, and it generally doesn't affect our trips because remember, we're going offshore past the red tide. Now, Capt Mike, on his inshore trips, it affects him, makes it difficult to go out there when there's dead fish floating around. But our trips go beyond the areas where there's red tide, and even if there is red tide Nearshore, we can drive through it, get past it, so it definitely works. Still for us, the challenge becomes we can't take live bait with us. That's the one drawback that we see when red tide happens. But generally, if everybody's using dead bait, it doesn't make much of a difference. All right, next question. What do we got? How would you describe cobia meat compared to other tasty Gulf species? Cobia is really good. It's more firm, very white, very delicate. It's got a good texture to it. Cobia is good, really good eating fish. You just don't see them a lot. We haven't seen too many in our area as of late. It's more of a bycatch species for us as well. Jason Richmond, appreciate those stars. Richard Harcourt, appreciate those stars. Angie Darling with a big 1,000 stars. Thank you, Angie. All right, let's see here. What else do we got to talk about before we close this thing up? Gulf Council seats. If you don't mind, I am applying for a Gulf of Mexico Fishery Management Council seat. So the Gulf Council, the Gulf of Mexico Fishery Management Council, was named through MSA, which is the Magnuson-Stevens Act. It's an act of Congress in 1976. It's been reauthorized twice in 1994 and 2006. And that congressional act named it the Gulf of Mexico Fishery Management Council. So yes, it is the Gulf of Mexico Fishery Management Council that governs the Gulf of America. So the Gulf of America did change in name, but the Gulf of Mexico Fishery Management Council has not changed. So before anybody brings any of that up, I want to make that abundantly clear. So it is the Gulf of Mexico Fishery Management Council, and I am applying for a seat on what they now call just the Gulf Council to try to make it easy and try to avoid confusion. So check it out. It's on the Captain Dylan Hubbard page. Josh has it pulled up here on the page. But essentially, I need your help to send an email to appointments@eog.myflorida.com. But again, it's right there in the post. I posted it February 25th on the Captain Dylan Hubbard Facebook page. So visit Captain Dylan Hubbard Facebook page, scroll down, you'll see, Josh, can you scroll down a little bit? You'll see this photo, and this photo is obviously the post. You can explore the post, and there is information on what I need from you. It is due by tomorrow. So if you can shoot an email by tomorrow, end of business, to that email address in the post, we'd appreciate it. Help me hopefully get a seat on the Gulf of Mexico Fishery Management Council that governs the Gulf of America. Doesn't matter what you call it, hopefully I get a seat on it. All right, the season's reminder we already talked about. Don't forget the tattoo special. Did we get the new tattoo up on the page yet? No, not yet. We have a new tattoo. It was pretty cool, so we'll be adding that to the website page. We've got another couple tattoos coming soon, so if you are interested, remember, you can go to hubbardsmarina.com. Right on our website page, once you get to hubbardsmarina.com, you can click the Info tab, and under the Info tab, click Marina Info, and then right there, you'll see the Hubbard's Marina tattoo page. It has all the guidelines, and then it has my email address. So read the guidelines. If you have any questions or you want to send me a draft of what you're thinking of getting tattooed, you can email me. And remember, you get a tattoo, you get $1,000 in trip credit. 2 free 39-hour trips, or you can just use the $1,000 for a variety of other trips. But the club is growing. If you want to join the club, think about getting that Hubbard's Marina tattoo for free trips. Can't beat that. $1,000 in free trips. Don't forget to schedule your 2025 trips. Those trips are starting to fill up fast, especially for red snapper season, for that gag season. It's going fast, so book them up, y'all. The Regulars Club is still open as well. If you want to join our Regulars Club, it's a loyalty program. You can pay a little bit of money to join, then you get up to 50% off throughout the trip, throughout the year. So if you go to hubbardsmarina.com and you hit fishing trips, and then hit fishing trip information, you can find the Regulars Club page. It's got a video describing more about it. It's got the prices for the club, the discounts for the club, all the guidelines, and it even shows you the pricing on the trip. So the 39-hour trip is normally $499, the 39-hour trip is normally $499. It's only $350 as a Regulars Club member, $150 off. You save $70 on a 39-hour trip. You save quite a bit of money, $43 on a half-day trip. So a lot of good options in the Regulars Club loyalty program. But it is an individual membership, and it is only good for you and your discount. But it's a great way to go fishing more often, more affordably. So check it out. With that, I think that's all I have to talk about tonight. What time is the Supporters After Show going to start, Josh?
8:45.
You sure? Positive this time?
There is no show tonight.
8:45, Supporters After Show. It is. So hopefully you can join us for that Supporters After Show. I believe the supporters have come up with some topics for us to talk about. So hopefully we'll see you in the Supporters Club. It's only $4.99 to join. You get behind-the-scenes access to that private group, plus access to our private after show as well. So hopefully you can join us for that. Hopefully we'll see you next week. We've got a nice long stretch. No canceled shows in the future. So we had kind of a weird stretch with vacation and Super Bowl and things going on, but I don't see anything in my calendar that's going to make us cancel a show. So we're back to every Sunday night, 7:30 p.m. Hopefully we'll see you next week for another episode. We appreciate you being a part of our Hubbard's Marina family, and I appreciate you joining in and tuning in tonight on Facebook, YouTube, Trovo, Twitch, Kick, Instagram, TikTok, all that good stuff. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, y'all. We're really trying to hit our goal on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe. Check out all those new videos. We're really putting a lot of effort, time, dollars into YouTube. So check out all those great videos. We got more coming soon as well. With that, let's do our 39-hour trip giveaway and see who won our 39-hour trip for one lucky winner. This giveaway is brought to you by our friends over at Innovative Pools and Spa. Innovative Pools and Spa has been a Tampa Bay pool building company with 35 years of experience building pools in the Tampa Bay area. They are continuing the legacy of their father's company, which was recognized as a top pool builder. Plus, they are continuing to raise the bar in pool construction, design, and features. They have an unparalleled passion for the industry. Call them today at 727-788-1650 or visit them online at innovativepoolsandspa.net for an estimate and see why Innovative Pools and Spa is a top choice for our local community. Really good people, fishy family. So check them out, innovativepoolsandspa.net. All right, let's see who won the 39-hour trip for one lucky winner. One lucky winner. People are still talking about the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. That was a long time ago, folks.
It's Philly. They don't get over stuff.
That's a good one. That was a good game, though. I did enjoy watching Patrick Mahomes get beat up. That was fun. All right. Who won the 39-hour trip for one lucky winner? Ryan Welser from Michigan. We have two locals and a Michiganer tonight. Michiganer. I don't know. Michiganian? How does that work? Now I'm confused and want to know. All right. Appreciate y'all hanging out and joining us tonight. We'll see the supporters here at 8:45. We'll see the rest of you guys next week at 7:30 p.m. Thank you so much for watching and being a part of our Hubbard's Marina family, y'all. And we'll see you next week. Don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. And in memory of our late great friend, Captain Billy Nobles, do yourself a favor, take a kid fishing. Y'all have a good night.